good day. This is Teacher Maria. Okay, so for today we're going to continue our lesson about water sources. Okay, so we're going to review surface water sources and we're going to continue freshwater sources. Okay, so these are the vocabulary words that we studied last time. We have sources, surrounded, surface water, salt water, fresh water, brackish water, consume, salinity, groundwater, streams, reservoir, creek, well, hand pumps, aquifer, saturated, unsaturated, glaciers, ice sheets, and lake. Okay, so these are the words that we studied last time. Try to be familiar with them. Okay, and for this time we added some few words, another set. We have ground ice, moisture, humidity, atmosphere, spaces, and layer. Okay, so try to be familiar with them. Remember the time meaning as well. Okay, so we're going to review what is water, why do we need water, and where do we find water. Okay, so what is water? We said that water is made up of tiny molecules of hydrogen and oxygen. Water has no color, no taste, doesn't smell of anything, and it exists in three forms. You already studied this: solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, we also studied about why do we need water. We said we need water to carry nutrients and waste in our body, to lubricate joints, digestive tract, and body tissues, to cool the body, especially during periods of physical activity. So these are the function of the body in our water in our body, no? And then it's also used in factories, agriculture, hospitals, hotels, okay, for consumption. We also studied about where do we find water. Okay, we said that the Earth's surface is covered by water and land. Okay, so 70% of the Earth's surface is water and about 30% is land. Okay, this we already studied this last time. We said that surface water source is the water on the Earth's surface, So it can be any body of water. It can be streams, rivers, lakes, creeks, and even the ocean. Even if it's salt water, it is also considered surface water. Okay, so here's a diagram showing that 97.5% of the total global water is salt water, and fresh water is 2.5%. So when you say salt water, these are the water that we cannot consume. It has a high salt content. Okay, so the bodies of salt water are seas and ocean. Okay, I hope you already understand that. Salt water. And if you're going to look here, this is the map of Thailand. You can see that Thailand is also surrounded by water in the southern part. Okay, you have the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea. Okay, about fresh water, we said that fresh water is naturally occurring water that contains very little or no salt. Salt water has very high salt content. This one contains very little or no salt at all. Okay, so examples of fresh water in the surface waters as a surface water source are rivers and lakes. Okay, hope you understand what is the difference between river and lake na. And we also studied about swamps. We said that swamp is a land area flooded with water. Okay, but swamp can be brackish water, fresh water, or salt water. We already know what is salt water. We said that it has high salt content. Fresh water, very little or no salt content. And then what is brackish water? Okay, we also studied that last time, but still Brackish water is the water occurring in natural environment, having more salinity than fresh water, but not as much as seawater or salt water. So it's in between salt water, brackish water, and then fresh water, if you're going to arrange it from high salinity to the least, okay? It may result from the mixing of seawater with fresh water together, okay? We also studied about the 2.5% of the water on Earth is fresh water, but most of it is stored in glaciers and ice sheets. Okay, ice sheets, we already studied the difference between the two last meeting. Okay, there is also water source between the surface of the Earth. It's called groundwater. Okay, it's called groundwater. Okay, last meeting, teacher Yuri already showed you a video about groundwater. I hope you already understand it. Okay, so besides rivers, lakes, freshwater swamps, and groundwater, what are the other sources of fresh water? So for today, we're going to study the other sources of fresh water. We already know that we can get it in rivers, lakes, and swamps, and in groundwater, okay? And in glaciers and ice sheets, okay? But what are the other sources of fresh water, okay? So we will start with permafrost, okay? Permafrost is the layer of ground consisting of soil and rocks that remain frozen for at least 2 years, 2 consecutive years, okay? So I'm going to show you a video about permafrost, okay? Let's watch.
Permafrost is frozen ground, which remains frozen all year round for at least 2 consecutive years. It is found in cold climates of high latitudes or high altitudes, where the ground does not thaw completely, even in summer. Permafrost can consist of rock, sediment, and soil, and contains varying quantities of ice, which acts like cement to bind the different materials together. Most of present-day permafrost formed during or since the last ice age. Just on top of the permafrost is a thin layer of soil, the active layer. It thaws each summer and refreezes each winter. It can range from 30 to 200 centimeters. Permafrost, on the other hand, can go as deep as 1,500 meters.
Okay, permafrost, as we said, is a layer of ground consisting of soil and rocks that remain frozen for at least 2 years. So in this ground has water, and the water there, the fresh water, is frozen, okay? I hope you understand what is permafrost, okay? So this is another source of fresh water, okay? Another one is ground ice. So when you say ground ice, it is the ice that forms in the frozen ground, okay? It can be found in spaces between soil particles or cracks in rocks, okay? So I have here a picture of ground ice. So permafrost and ground ice, you can find them in cooler places, in higher latitude, okay, or higher altitude. In Thailand, we do not have this kind of freshwater sources, okay, because the temperature in Thailand doesn't go below freezing point, okay. So you can say this in northern hemisphere, in the countries in the northern hemisphere, okay. When you say northern hemisphere, it's above the equator, okay. I hope you understand where we can find those permafrost and ground ice. Okay. Another source of fresh water is soil. Okay, so in the soil it contains some fresh water, a little bit of fresh water. So the moisture in the soil, this one has a function. It allows plants to grow and animals to live in it. So because the soil has a little bit of water in it, there's moisture in it, it can sustain the growth of plants. Okay, and animals can live in it as well. um, and atmosphere, we can get water from the atmosphere. There's also some fresh water in the atmosphere. If you don't know what is atmosphere, it's the layer of air surrounding earth. Okay, it's the air surrounding earth. So the water vapor is in a gas state. The water in the atmosphere is in a gaseous state. Okay, it's called water vapor. Okay, it's another source of fresh water on earth, and we can also find fresh water in organisms. Okay, but this is the least amount of fresh water on earth. It's stored in organisms or living things. Okay, so in some organisms, water is made up of 90% of their bodies. So their bodies are made up of 90% water. 90% of their body is water. Okay, in some organisms. In humans, it's about 70%. Okay, so that's why in the beginning we said that we need water, because if you imagine, our body is made up of water, 70% water. So it plays a lot of role in our body functions. Okay, so here is the summary of the freshwater sources. Okay, what are the freshwater sources? We have glaciers and ice sheets. We said that's groundwater, already studied that, and permafrost and ground ice, lakes, humidity in soil or the water or the moisture in soil, humidity in the atmosphere, freshwater swamps, rivers, and organisms. Okay, so I arranged it from the highest volume to the lowest volume. So all the freshwater sources on earth, these are all the freshwater sources in earth, and we can arrange it. So the glaciers and ice sheets, we already said that most of the fresh water are stored in glaciers and ice sheets. It's just that it's not available for consumption. It's frozen. No, we cannot consume this yet. And then in groundwater, we can use it for our daily activities. Permafrost and ground ice, we don't have that in our country, in Thailand. And also it's not available for consumption. Okay, so we can have other sources of fresh water also. Okay, so these are all the fresh water sources in earth. Okay, I hope you understand. Hope you have don't have any questions, but if you do, just ask me. You can send a message to me.